Okay, I've been thinking for a minute how it's going to be difficult for the Indiana Fever to keep their core together long term. Short term, it's a little different, but this has been accelerated by the information we have regarding the proposed CBA from the league to the players, the salary cap, the salaries, and how everything would fit underneath that. Credit where it's due. I was given this account, suggested this account. Ken Swift actually sent this to me. Brianna Mitchell had talked about this on X regarding, how it's going to be difficult to fit multiple max.
The Indiana Fever, once promising a new dynasty built around Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell, now confronts an unavoidable financial catastrophe. What seemed like a foundation for WNBA dominance has transformed into an impossible dream, crushed by the harsh mathematics of the new CBA. This triumphant vision of keeping three elite talents together isn't just challenged, it's doomed from the start, guaranteeing the destruction of their core before it reaches full potential.
For example, if the Fever paid Kelsey Mitchell the $1.13 million supermax and spent a combined $1.08 million on Boston and Caitlin Clark's mandated rookie scale salaries, that would leave the team with roughly $3.4 million to spend on 9 more roster spots, including newly drafted players. This equates to roughly $382,000 or 6.7% of the cap per player. And that's if the Fever only has one max player on its roster. This is almost $100,000 less than the proposed average salary. So to explain that, basically the way that it's proposed right now, there's a $5.65 million salary cap, right? And the max salary is going up.
The proposed collective bargaining agreement creates an immediate crisis rather than a future concern. Dramatically elevated maximum salaries paired with a restrictive salary cap completely transforms how teams must construct their rosters. What appeared achievable for Indiana's long-term strategy has become an instant financial nightmare, an explosive situation ready to detonate their star-powered ambitions. The calculations are unforgiving and point toward inevitable disaster.
Basically, the way that it's proposed right now, there's a $5.65 million salary cap, right? And the max salary is going up over $1 million. It's been at about $250,000. So the max salary is going up to over $1 million, which is like 20% of the new cap. And the average salary is going to about $500,000, right? So if you give out even the one max salary to Kelsey Mitchell, that's 20% of the cap. And then, what Clark and Boston are currently under, you have less than the average salary to spend on the rest of the players, which means
social media analysts first recognized this approaching catastrophe, with Brianna Mitchell raising red flags about the impossibility of accommodating multiple maximum contracts under the revised cap structure. Her observations provided a haunting glimpse of what lay ahead, indicating that super team construction, even for rosters as gifted as Indiana's, would soon become obsolete. This analysis exposed a critical weakness in the proposed financial system that would devastate teams harboring multiple superstars.
20% of the cap, and then, what Clark and Boston are currently under, you have less than the average salary to spend on the rest of the players, which means, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, only Michaela Timpson. This is why rookie contracts are so valuable. And this is the same thing for the NBA, by the way. This is, in a sense, will mirror the current structure of the NBA, where it's much, much more difficult to put together the quote unquote big threes. Even when the big threes were put together, think LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, it was more difficult to build talent around them. You'd had to have vets, who wanted to get a ring like Shane Battier or somebody like that. And then players on,
Constable of Front Office Sports amplified these dire predictions by using Indiana as the primary cautionary tale, breaking down the merciless numbers surrounding Kelsey Mitchell's upcoming free agency. The roadmap to financial disaster became undeniably apparent, demonstrating that the Fever's Big Three aspirations were already crashing against an impenetrable barrier of economic reality. Their championship dreams appeared destined for failure before truly taking shape.
Different and maybe creates a little bit more wiggle room. But it's not just about this year for the Fever specifically, of course. One of the advantages they have is that Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston are still under rookie deals. If you look at the 2025 cap, you see Kelsey Mitchell there was making $250K as a base salary. That's under the core distinction. Let's say the core distinction still exists. We don't know exactly how it will shake out in the CBA, but assuming the core distinction still exists, the Fever can core Kelsey Mitchell again, meaning keep her on a 1-year deal at the supermax salary.
Consider this devastating scenario. Paying Mitchell her $1.13 million supermax salary while covering Boston and Clark's required rookie scale payments of $1.08 million each creates an immediate $2.21 million commitment for merely 3 players. This calculation reveals the brutal truth, instantly consuming a tremendous portion of available resources while creating a nearly impossible challenge for completing the remaining roster.
This is Boston's last season under a rookie scale deal. You go to 2027, she disappears. She will command a supermax salary. After 2027, Caitlin Clark, no longer under contract. Obviously, she will command a supermax salary. So that makes it nearly impossible for the Fever to have Clark, Boston, and Mitchell on supermax deals and have a competent roster beyond that in the future. So that's where you're looking at a little bit right there, right? If first you have this immediate impact, does it allow you to keep Sophie and Lexi Hull?
Under the proposed $5.65 million salary cap, compensating these 3 stars leaves Indiana with only $3.4 million for the remaining 9 roster positions, including newly drafted talent. This breakdown averages approximately $382,000 per remaining player, falling $100,000 below the projected league average salary. This constraint goes beyond restrictive. It becomes a financial stranglehold, forcing the organization to fill essential positions with significantly underpaid performers.
Future. So that's where you're looking at a little bit right there, right? If first you have this immediate impact, does it allow you to keep Sophie and Lexi Hull and anybody else you might want to sign under the terms of the deal with bringing Mitchell back if you decide to bring Mitchell back right now? And they stated that that's a priority. And then when you're going forward, that the Fever are going to keep Clark and Boston. I would assume that's like their number one priority is keeping those 2 together. So what does that mean for, Mitchell going forward? Is the trick, a short-term deal on that supermax salary and go from there?
The WNBA mirrors the NBA's established challenge, where assembling big threes becomes financially prohibitive, yet lacks the sophisticated mechanisms like bird rights that allow NBA teams flexibility with their own players. This creates an even more punishing environment, where teams must sacrifice surrounding talent and depth, transforming potential champions into top-heavy squads vulnerable to injuries and strategic mismatches.
3 supermax players on their roster right now. 2 of them just happen to be on rookie deals. But they've got 3 players who, objectively are supermax salary players, and then you have to figure out the rest of the roster because you want the role players to be good too. And that's where the likes of Lexi and Sophie and the deals that they get this offseason, whether it's with Indiana or elsewhere, play into the situation. Again, Lexi Hull's a restricted free agent, so they can match anything she gets. Sophie Cunningham has made it clear she wants to return, but she's also made it clear she wants security. Where is the middle ground there? Because obviously the fan base wants.
This crisis impacts Indiana immediately, rather than in future seasons. Lexi Hull, a restricted free agent clearly deserving above-average compensation, represents a financial burden despite the team's matching capabilities. Sophie Cunningham has expressed her need for long-term security, but her reasonable demands conflict directly with the team's capacity to maintain their core. While slightly higher final CBA numbers might provide minimal relief, such adjustments merely postpone the inevitable collapse, rather than solving the fundamental problem. The Fever can utilize core designation to retain Mitchell for 1 additional season at supermax rates, preserving their big 3 temporarily, but this desperate measure only delays rather than resolves their most difficult decisions. Boston's rookie contract expires after 1 more year, meaning she'll command supermax money by 2027, while Clark will undoubtedly shatter salary records once her rookie deal concludes. These approaching contract situations make it mathematically impossible for Indiana to maintain Clark, Boston, and Mitchell on maximum deals while fielding a competitive supporting cast. The front office has declared keeping Clark and Boston together as their top priority, while simultaneously calling Mitchell a current priority, creating an unavoidable future collision between stated objectives and financial limitations. This temporary strategy involving Mitchell's supermax designation provides just 1 season of relief while gambling with an inevitable day of reckoning. The new financial landscape dramatically increases the value of rookie contract players like Michaela Timson, making such cap-friendly talent nearly untouchable in potential expansion scenarios as teams desperately seek cost-controlled contributors. League-wide, the revised CBA essentially limits championship contenders to 2 supermax players maximum, but Indiana faces 3 objective supermax caliber talents once Clark and Boston complete their rookie deals. Critical role players like Hall and Cunningham find their contract negotiations this offseason crucial, as the organization must choose between maintaining depth and retaining fan-favorite contributors, while their star core already strains financial limits. The Indiana Fever confronts an unprecedented challenge spanning both immediate and long-term planning, as the new CBA's increased salaries benefit players while devastating roster construction possibilities, transforming their Clark-led dynasty dreams into financial impossibility, and guaranteeing a fragmented core with forced departures that make their ambitious future far more precarious than anyone anticipated.